New Testament quiz. 30 questions. 7 seconds. Choose your answer. 1 point per correct answer. Keep score. 3 rounds. Easy, medium, hard. Each gets harder. Question 1. What happened after Jesus rebuked the wind and told the sea to be still? A great calm. The wind ceased, and the sea obeyed him. Question 2. Who climbed a sycamore tree so he could see Jesus? Zacchaeus. He climbed the tree because the crowd blocked his view. Question 3. To which village were 2 disciples walking when Jesus joined them? Emmaus. Jesus walked with them before they recognized him. Question 4. Who took the child Jesus in his arms at the temple and blessed God? Simeon. He called Jesus God's salvation and a light to the nations. Question 5. Which Pharisee and ruler came to speak with Jesus at night? Nicodemus. John says this Pharisee and ruler came to Jesus by night. Question 6. What work were Peter and Andrew doing when Jesus called them? Fishing. They were casting a net into the Sea of Galilee. Question 7. Who was made to carry Jesus' cross behind him? Simon of Cyrene. The cross was placed on him to carry behind Jesus. Question 8. On which day did a rushing wind sound and tongues like fire appear at the gathering? Pentecost. They were filled with the Holy Spirit and spoke in other languages. Question 9. What animal did Jesus find and sit on as he entered Jerusalem? A young donkey. John says Jesus sat on a donkey's colt. Question 10. What did the poor widow put into the temple treasury? Two small brass coins. Jesus said she gave all she had to live on. Round 2. Medium. 10 down. Keep your score. The climb gets steeper. Question 11. Which pair did Jesus call Boanerges, meaning sons of thunder? James and John. Mark explains that Boanerges means sons of thunder. Question 12. Who asked Pilate for Jesus' body and laid it in his own new tomb? Joseph of Arimathea. Matthew says the tomb belonged to him. Question 13. Whose right ear did Peter cut off with a sword? Malchus. John identifies him as the high priest's servant. Question 14. Which disciple found Nathanael and invited him to come and see? Philip. He found Nathanael and said, "Come and see." Question 15. What name did the apostles also give Hoseas, the Levite from Cyprus? Barnabas, meaning son of encouragement. Question 16. Who saw a sheet-like container descending from heaven in a vision? Peter. The vision came while he was praying on a housetop. Question 17. Which name did Peter speak when he raised the disciple in Joppa? Tabitha, also called Dorcas. Peter prayed, and she opened her eyes. Question 18. Which married couple died after lying about money from a land sale? Ananias and Sapphira. Peter said they had lied to God. Question 19. What name did the unclean spirit give when Jesus asked its name? Legion, because the spirits were many. Question 20. What profession does Paul associate with Luke? Physician. Paul calls Luke the beloved physician. Final round. Hard. 20 down. 10 questions remain. Question 21. Which proconsul summoned Barnabas and Saul on Cyprus and later believed? Sergius Paulus. Acts calls him a man of understanding. Question 22. Whose household reported the divisions among the Corinthian believers to Paul? Chloe's. Those from Chloe's household reported the contentions to Paul. Question 23. What was the name of Malta's chief man who hosted Paul for 3 days? Publius. He welcomed Paul and his companions courteously. Question 24. Which silversmith stirred up the craftsmen of Ephesus against Paul's teaching? Demetrius. His business made silver shrines of Artemis. Question 25. Which Revelation church was rebuked for tolerating a woman called Jezebel? Thyatira. The message also commended its love, faith, and service. Question 26. Whom did Paul commend as a servant of the assembly at Cenchreae? Phoebe. Paul also called her a helper of many. Question 27. Whom did Paul call my child, saying he had become his father while in chains? One Zymus. Paul said he had become his father while in chains. Question 28. In which city had Paul decided to spend the winter? Nicopolis. Paul asked Titus to meet him there. Question 29. who loved to be first and refused to accept what the elders said. Diatriphs. 3 John says he also rejected visiting believers. Question 30. What was the name of the star that fell and made a third of the waters bitter? Wormwood. Revelation says the waters became bitter. How many did you get out of 30? Comment your score and choose the next round, Acts or Parables.